Jackson Alves, thanks so much for being my guest on the Work and Worldview podcast. I'm glad we could have this time together.
Jonathan, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You got it. I'm glad we could connect. So, as I ask everyone, tell me a little bit about the values in your home growing up. So, where was that? What were kind of what was what was sort of in the air as you were growing up in terms of values?
Okay, I'm Brazilian. So I was born in a small city in southern Brazil. We used to go to the Catholic Church when I was a kid. So I lived there with my parents until I was 21, I think. And then I moved to another city, a bigger city, to follow my dreams, to try to go to design college because my hometown, the city when I was born, didn't have the university, this kind of stuff. Just a small city. So I moved there when I was 21 to find a job that allowed me to pay for my college because I came from a humble family. So my parents didn't have the money to invest this way in my college. So I need to find a way, find a job to that allow me to pay the university, the rent, buy food, yeah, all that stuff. So
Sure, live life, right?
yeah, exactly. And then yeah, so I moved to another city. The name is Curitiba. And then there, after the college, after everything, I met my wife. My wife is actually from the Lutheran church. And then when I got married, I changed for the Lutheran church. So yeah, so that's
Became Lutheran. Okay.
yeah.
Well, let's back up a little bit. Art. So, where does art come into the scene in your life? Is it as a child? Is it as a kid? Is it as a teenager?
That's a good question. I think that came from me since the beginning. Remember, I always loved to draw. I
Hmm.
draw a lot when I was a kid, and I I believe almost every kid like to draw, but there is a time when some people keep on drawing and other people give up. You know that's different when you and insistent and you are persistent enough to keep on drawing. So I believe when I was 12 or 13, I start to create like these little comic books. I start to create my own histories and create some characters and create this kind of comic books that
Hmm.
time. And then yeah, so I always like drawing and create my own illustration, and I just keep on doing that. And then I tried to find a job when I was 15. Yeah, 15,
Hmm.
as a salesperson in a regular store in my city. And then that first job only lasted 1 week. Uh, and I got fired. And my boss came to me and said, I think you don't like what we are doing here. I think you're not doing great." And he asked me, "What do you like to do, Jackson?" And I said, "Oh, I like to draw. I love to draw. I love illustration." And then he said to me, "Okay, so let me give you a piece of advice. Next time you look for a job, try to find a job that something you like to do, you love to do, not just for making money." And then yeah, that was super important for me as a teenager, because I started thinking about it. Oh, okay, yeah, like it would be awesome if I could find a job to work with design, to work with illustration. But in that time before the internet, um, in a small city, it's kind of hard to figure it out. How can I, like, how someone would pay for me to keep it drawing
Hmm.
all day long, right?
Hmm.
And then there was opportunity to work as a draftsman in a building company, like with architecture
Mhm.
engineer the stuff. That was my second job actually, but the first job that really worked for me because I was not designing, not drawing comic books, but I was drawing something. I need to take the pen and the ink and
Mhm.
all the stuff, pencil and everything, and I spent all day long really drawing something, and people was paying me to draw all day long. So that first advice of my first boss was very important because after
Sure.
that, I never ever tried to find a job with another kind of stuff. All the time, I always try to work with creativity, with something that it's my pleasure to do. So yeah, since then I work with after that with design, graphic design and everything, but always related to creativity, with arts, with this kind of university.
What a gift that that first boss gave you, huh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, architectural draftsman, right? So these are days of vellum and pen and ink and pencil?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
and then we migrate to computer. That it was, let me see, 1996. Then I convinced my boss to invest in a computer and try to create something in the computer. So we
okay.
made this migration from the paper to the computer that time.
Mhm. What was that like?
I like that. I always liked technology, so I was very how can I say that? Very curious about that new world, So I remember someday there was a guy in that office, and then he was talking with my boss, and I remember he he said to my boss like, "Man, you need to enjoy the opportunity to have this young man here." In fact, that was me, the boy that is eager to learn a new technology, and then you can invest with him. You can pay a curse for this guy, and you can move your office to the new world for the computer era.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we made that, and I started to work with computer since then.
So what followed the architecture? That was the architectural design firm. What followed that?
I keep the work for then like 4 or 5 years, I believe, and then because I start I started to create graphic design that time, but I didn't know exactly what it was graphic design because in Brazil we call that time another name. We used to call this industrial illustration, something like that. In Portuguese, is desenho industrial. Is look like for something related to engineer, not exactly art or creation, that stuff. With the computer, I start to learn all the stuff to create the what I do for architecture, like the CAD apps. And then I also start to learn another graphic apps. I realized I can start to create, for example, logos and business cards because I bought also a printer, a color printer. So that time, oh, that's is something very different. You have a portable color printer to and allow you to print like business card and that stuff.
Mhm.
So at the same time I was working there, I also started to create this work for another clients, like create logos, flyers, and business card. And this is actually a graphic design, but I didn't know that it was graphic design.
Mhm.
And then I also start to create some building projects, like create small houses for another client. But I realized that I need to have degree, of course, to be able to create this as a professional, because I can create a beautiful house, but someone with degree needs to come here and sign that product. Okay, that's you
Sure.
can build that or not, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I moved to another city, I actually was thinking about go to the architecture college. not a graphic design in the first place, in first stance. But the price for this college is like 2 or 3 times the price for graphic design,
Yeah.
and I cannot afford that time with my salary. I cannot afford that college, and I was printer that time in a printer shop actually in the new city. And I remember some clients go there, ask me to create something, create logo, create banners, everything. And then once there was a woman came there and asked me to create something, and I was creating on the computer, use the Adobe Illustrator, all these apps. And then she asked me, "Oh, you really good to create this kind of stuff. Have you ever thinking about go to the graphic design college?" And I said, "I don't know what is graphic design." And then she explained to me, "The work you're creating now is graphic design actually." And it's kind of work, create the logo design, I don't know, book design, and all the, and it's, oh, this is something I like to do, and okay. And after that, I start to make my searching about what exactly graphic design, what is this college looks like, how much I need to pay for that,
Mhm.
and then I realized I can afford that this college. So that's the point of my life on this. Okay, I know so maybe it's better go to graphic design college because I can afford the college and it
Mhm.
is also something I like to do. Then yeah, so I start to go to the graphic design college because something important to say in Brazil, the public university is really free at all. Like I need to pay anything. I know
Okay.
it's different from here, United States, but for you to enter in the public university, you need to participate with a life we call this vestibular in Portuguese. But you need to make a test with a lot of another competitors and to be able to enter or not on the public university. And this, of course, is really really hard to pass that test. And especially that's the funny part. Especially if you study all your life in a public school, the public school is not so good with everything you learn that. So it's possible, it's very, very possible if you spend your whole life studying in public school, you have not enough knowledge to pass this test to enter in the public
Oh,
college. It's tricky.
oh,
It's tricky. So most of people that go to it's that time. Nowadays, it's changed some little bit. Some include something. For example, nowadays, if you study your entire life in a public school, you have special spots to enter a public university. Nowadays, it work like that. But that time not. So on my time, that most of people in the public university came from the private college. And then us that would study all the time in the public school goes to the private college because we can't pass off the test to go to public university, you know.
wow.
So yeah, so I need to find my way to be able to pay for the university, and then yeah, I realized the graphic design was possible to pay for the college. So that's the one of the reason I decided to go to graphic design college.
That's fascinating. So, the first one is the boss who helps you identify the passion that you really have, right? And
Yeah,
then the next one is the client who helps you articulate, how that passion fits into the professional realm, right? And
exactly.
and kind of gives you the language and the understanding for where to get training and where to really like get certified or you know uh, ranked as a professional in that, right? That's
Yeah,
really neat. But you're already doing it too.
yeah.
So, what did school bring you then? So, you go to school, and obviously, there you're now learning about art, right? New values are being sort of put in. So, what are some of the values that you learned and took away from art school about art? That you probably still use today.
So many stuff. Yeah, I learned how to improve my work, how to understand better about composition. I don't know, color theory, and how to present my work for other people. Also, we start to learn new stuff. For example, I learn more about photography, how to create a good photography, because it's very important to make it the uh, like to capture the moment for some to promote my work. It's very important. Like I create a piece and then I finish the piece. I have this piece. I know I can create, for example, designing a book, and then we have this book printed, and then I need to learn. I need to know how to make a picture beautiful of that book to put in my portfolio, for example. So it's something very
Sure.
important.
Yeah.
Another thing I learned in the university was my communication skills. Like most of the people with related to art, it kind of it's some way is kind of shine. I don't know, talking about my work, I'm not talking about something. I prefer just keeping drawing, my head's
Uh-huh.
down and down, and
Yeah.
I look at other people.
Mhm.
So I remember I have a teacher that helped me a lot to be able, for example, go to the stage and speak for the class with my classmates, and then in the future that helped me to a lot for me, for example, to help me to go to become a teacher in university, because I was a teacher, typography teacher in the in graphic design college for 7 years. That's some kind of the skill we learn, start to learn in the not learn everything, of course, but start to learn in the college, that bring me to where I came here today, for example.
Sure. Sure. So that brought you into, like, the realm of public speaking? So you're
Yeah, public
comfortable
speaking. Yeah, that. Yeah.
speaking with people, and then obviously teaching and pedagogy, right? And 7 years teaching. Wow. So like what came out of that? What were some of the takeaways from teaching others what you'd mastered?
Most of the studio I work in Brazil, um, they use a, another graphic design app, and then I was using Adobe Illustrator, the Adobe package, everything.
Mhm.
And I tried to all the new company I work. I try to convince people there, guys, it's better to move to the Adobe package. It's better. It's the pattern in the world, and they use this another one. It's not so good. So I used to convince my boss, and then okay, that's good, but can you teach the team, your colleagues? I said okay, I can teach that. So I started teaching this app for every new company I started working, and then I realized I was enjoying that moment to share my knowledge with another people, and because when you need to teach someone anything, you need to think about examples. For example, oh, to do this, like you make new examples to make it easier for the people understand that. So I realized that I was doing great for the people there. So okay, maybe I like that. And then I remember someone invite me to offer Adobe Illustrator workshop in the same university. Actually, I got the degree, and then okay, maybe I can do that. That's my first official workshop out of the company. So I started to teach that, and then I like that, and I repeat this, and so after some time, I was teaching all the Adobe packages. I have workshops about Adobe InDesign, workshops about Adobe Photoshop, about Adobe Illustrator,
Mhm.
and then I was enjoying this moment as a new teacher, and I also was learning more typography and learn calligraphy and learn lettering. And then suddenly, I have a friend that was doing this graphic design college in my city, and then he there was a spot for a typography teacher. Suddenly, the the typography teacher that moment, I know why they just left the college. And then there's this open spot. So he told me, Jackson, there's a spot for teaching typography in this university. Why did you try that? And then if okay, maybe I should maybe I should try. And so I send my curriculum and everything to the university. I go there and speak for the people, and then yeah, I was they approved me and started teaching there. I was I started teaching typography and also the Adobe package for the graphic design students. So I have this two main topics I was teaching in the university. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the
Mhm.
way. But everything you start with this idea to teach another people in the same company how to use the new app.
Mhm. Mhm. Fascinating. Do you, do you learn from students teaching?
Sorry,
Do you learn from students when you're teaching?
for sure, of course. Uh, I think that a good part to be a teacher is that you always learning. You learn.
Mhm.
You learn because you need to prepare the class to teach the student. You learn because when you go to the school, to the college, and teaching people, you speak with another kind of the people, and you all the time you learn all the time. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Currently, you're in Orlando, so tell me a little about, teaching others, teaching peers, and then teaching in the school in Brazil, and then landing here. How did you end up here?
For a long time of my life, I always liked to um, American culture, because you guys are very good to sell through the movies the American dream, American way to do the thing. And I always like English, but I
Mhm.
had never the opportunity to go to official English that time when I was a kid. I remember I tried to convince my father I'd like to take private class, English private class. And then, yeah, my father actually can't afford to pay this class for me that time. So it's something that I would like to learn in the future. So later, because yeah, later after my 28, I don't know, I was finally taking these English classes in Brazil, and then I started to create work with this my current. What I do today, like calligraphy, lettering, typography, everything. And then I started getting a lot of commission from other countries in Brazil. Actually, uh, my first commission was from another country, not from Brazil. Actually, I was working. My daily work was in the design studio, and then I started getting commissions from the social media, from the Behance, because people start to see my work as a calligrapher, as all the letter design I was doing,
Mhm.
and I start to get this commission to create logos and titles for magazines, everything, and all the work from another country, not from Brazil. So most of the work came from uh, UK, yeah, most from the Europe or United States. So it was very important for me to take in this English class that time because I need to communicate with the people, everything. So, but I remember some clients start to contact me by email, and then after the first second email, they used ask me to do a meeting. Jackson, we'd like to do a meeting with you to brief you, to talking about more this project and everything. And then my English was not enough to talk with the people. I can use the mail. I can use because when someone write to me, I can use the Google Translator and do my do my search to find a way to understand that message. But in live, like the way it's talk right now, it was possible to me. Like I tried once because I was taking these English classes. But I remember, man, it was so terrible to understand the conversation.
Mhm.
And then I realized, oh, I can't do that. So more and more clients start to ask me, invite me for a meeting. And I remember I need to ask for some friends that speak English. Hey, can you go with me to this meeting online to help me to understand because my English is not enough. And then I remember there was a commission for that uh, company. I don't know the pronunciation in English. The Philips,
Phillips?
Philips.
Mhm.
Yeah, they create TVs and the kind of electronic stuff. And then I start to create the piece, and then some way they decide to change the direction for the piece, and then I receive a mail like, Jackson, I need to change this. You have you are in a hurry, and so we decide to not continue with you, and you decide to continue another two guys because especially because I can enter in a meeting to discuss something very very fast. So they understand. Oh, Jackson takes more time to Jackson understand because he don't speak English well. So it's better hire on other people that speak English well. So after I missed that work, I make the decision to okay, I need to came here to United States to try to do some go to a international school to try to improve my conversation skills because I can miss a work because of that. No,
Mhm.
so I came
Mhm.
here first in 2014 and I spent 6 weeks in San Francisco to improve this conversation and helped me a lot for that time. Helped me a lot. Helped me to have this to confidence to jump in a call and okay, and I can understand at least 70% of the conversation, so
Uh-huh,
something like
uh-huh.
that. Yeah, so I came here and I love that time in California. I love the culture and everything. So I come back to Brazil and all the time think, oh, maybe one day I can move there. Maybe one day I can live more time there and everything. And then, of course, during that time, life happens. I got my first child, and so we need to change plans. It's so harder to think to change another country with kids, everything. I just keep it work in Brazil, everything. Yes, suddenly the time is start when I realized, oh, I have my first kid, and then 4 years later, my second kid, and then when I realized, like my older daughter was 12 years already, I think, 12 or 13. And then I realized, man, if you think about moving to another country, you need to think fast because in some years we don't have more kids in the house. And
Mhm.
I was thinking about that. How was hard for me to learn English after some age. Uh, but still nowadays, sometimes it depends of the people and speaking. It's hard to understand. So I was I was very very convinced that I need to give this opportunity to my kids. Like,
Mm.
okay,
Mhm.
I I I I could not afford an English class or move to another country as a kid to learn really well another language. So I would like to offer this to my kids. So I started speaking to my wife about that, and then suddenly, best friend from my daughter from Brazil side with her family, of course, decided to move to Europe, to Portugal that time. And it was kind of shocking for us because, oh, it's the best friend of my daughter.
Mm.
But that was kind of example for us to to give us this push, this courage to say, guys, you can also do that, and you don't need to be rich to move to another country. You need to be braves and bravos, you need to be
Mm.
courage. And then yeah, so we made this decision. It was 2022, and then we start the process. I start to talk with my attorney and to prepare the documentation to apply for a visa, to be able to be here, of course, legally, to be able
Mhm.
to work here.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, in 2023, we made the big move with with the family come here. And then, yeah, nowadays my daughter speaks so much better than me. And if, oh, part of my mission as a parent is is completely like they speaking very good English, so better than me, and that's one of my goals, you know, to to give them this opportunity to learn really well another language, and
Yeah,
yeah, so
that's
that's part
beautiful.
of this.
What a beautiful gift, right? You saw the potential that it could, offer them, and, you know, you had the bravery to go ahead and I mean, that is bravery, right? To move to a different country, pick up stakes, and be like, "Okay, we're gonna figure this out. Let's go." Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's very, very challenging, man. Very challenging, and if especially if you have like if you already have family, because it's not only you and your wife, and your kids, and everything together. So yeah,
Yeah.
it takes some courage to to do this movement.
So how did your business change? So obviously you're running a business in Brazil, then you're running a business in the United States. So
Yeah,
what were some of the changes that you had to navigate to do that? You're doing the same work, but different context.
yeah, the way I run my business that didn't change so much, because when I was in Brazil, at least 50% of my clients were from here, from United States. So I was used to work with these guys, and of course, I'm not the same person, but the way they work is very similar.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, that the way I run my business didn't change so much actually. Changed
Okay.
the fact that now I'm here, and now I pay taxes here,
Mhm.
and of course, some uh, there was a question I always uh, think in my mind, like, okay, I have these clients in the United States, but if you was living there, could I improve my client base? If like uh, if a American company would like to hire someone to create, I don't know, a campaign, a piece, a logo, everything. Um, they will like. I start to think about, maybe it's not every company, not everybody would like to hire someone that is living in another country, like loud further than Brazil, because if you're thinking about the bureaucracy, I don't know, how can I pay for the guys who live there, how that works and things. So I already see some companies when I start talking, and then looks like they gave up to hire me because I was not living here.
Mm.
It's hard to prove that, but I think it's there. It's there.
Sure.
And
Sure.
then that's what one of the question I have. So yeah, so now I'm here and I can work with the people. And the funny part is that I'm here now, and 90, I don't know, almost 100% of my clients are Americans from the United States. And now it's so hard to work for clients in Brazil, because my price need to rise, because my like when I live there, and the dollar is 5 times the price of the Brazilian money. So it's so better. Okay, when if I have a client in that pay me in dollar, and then when the money arrive in Brazil and it can like multiply per five, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But when I'm here and it creates something from Brazil, I need to thinking about that. Okay, that the guy in Brazil to hire me, like need to think about 5 times more the price. So it's
Mhm.
very, very hard to work
Mm.
someone from Brazil right now. So
Yeah.
it's a part of the life.
You still have many European clients?
Yeah, some clients are fire.
Mhm. Mhm. So getting back to values a little bit. So like, first question about this is kind of like with the business, how do you position your business? So you know, like, there are many artists, there are many, you know, lettering artists, right? How do you position yourself and your business and the work you do relative to others in the industry?
Um, like some people in this field are how can I say that? It's only lettering artists. They are not designers.
Mhm.
And other people are designers, but not so good in create lettering. I try to mix all my knowledge as a graphic designer with my knowledge as a lettering artist, calligraphy artist, and put all together. For example, my ability to mix digital and analog work.
Mhm.
Because some people are really good only on analog, only on the canvas, only on the acrylic, and when it go to digital is I know work with digital, I know work with
Mhm.
Procreate and every stuff. And another people is really good with digital work and didn't know anything about analog, about acrylic paint, canvas. I don't know, like all the analog. So I try to mix this very well, and I'm sure, for example, when some company hire me, I can deliver for this company the most refined file to like for example, if the company hires someone that is very good on analog but not so good in digital, maybe the artist needs to, like maybe they need to paint a canvas like that
Mhm.
and ship that from the company to then take care of how can I put in a scanner, how can I put in the app. But I can do both. So once when a company hire me, I can deliver then the file as, for example, as a Photoshop file, really refine it, keeping all the brush stroke, all the details from the analog, and bring it the best of both worlds. So that's something what I try to show to my clients, and you can see a little bit on my Instagram, for example. You can see
Yes.
I share sometimes I paint something on the Procreate, some doing the digital, sometimes use it really brush with paint. So I try to mix that to prove to my clients I can work in both worlds. So it's
Yeah.
something I try to put in my.
Those videos are fantastic, Jackson. I have to tell you, it's just so beautiful to see, the way you handle the brush and you're moving through and doing these beautiful strokes, and then you just go right over the iPad and you're doing, very similar beautiful strokes, but in that domain as well. You certainly are a master in both. That's
Thank you.
really lovely to see. And
That's something important to say that also, because I should learn how to edit my own videos, because I can hire a professional every time it show do like to deliver a new video to, né?
Mhm.
So I start to learn more how to shoot better videos, how to edit, how to improve the lights,
Mhm.
and then so yeah. Also I love this process to record the video, put in the Premiere, and start to editing everything, and then
Mhm.
make some new effects. I love this part too. So
Fun, isn't it?
that's happened because I remember when I start to publish my first calligraphy pieces on Instagram, I start to try to record some way to people see I do it by hand, because that time people don't understand exactly. Oh, this is a font that just can type. No, it's not a font. I design by hand. So if you just publish the final piece, regular people can tell if it's made by hand or a computer. So I start to try to record that, and I see some people, like for example, for the big companies publishing some beautiful videos. So I should do a better video, so as I said, I can hire a professional company to record a video. So yeah, I start to learn more about how to shoot a video, how to improve the lights, how to improve something. And then yeah, so all the video I publish in my channels, it's all 100% me. I am the guy who record. I'm the guy to do the art, record the video, and edit the video and publish everything. So, of course, it's kind of crazy because I don't have the time for anything else. But
Well, you're doing a fantastic job, and it truly is a joy to watch us. Really, really is. And I'm sure you saw Bua's reaction to you, right, on Instagram. Did you see that?
yeah,
Yeah. So I was like, "Oh, look at that." I was
I
trying to
know,
get
I
him
know
on
Bua,
here,
I
but
know Bua. Bua is a
y
friend now nowadays.
Is he? Is he? I was trying to
Yeah.
get him on here, but no dice yet. Maybe someday. So, so you talked a little bit about how you differentiate yourself and that you do both sides of the digital and analog, and then you sort of did that with how you capture your own video as well. So when you go about doing your work and you're serving your clients, what kind of values do you have in your mind and in your business and the way you go about business?
Was always present in my life is being honest, being kind, respectful, generous, um, and also like putting myself in other people's shoes. You know, like
Hmm.
I respect every client I came for me, with money or not. You know, like I try to be very respectful, and don't I avoid any kind of prejudice, every kind of like treat everybody as my brother, like this. So yeah, it's something I have in not only my professional life, but my life as in general. For me, for my family, I also try to teach my kids about that, like how important it is to be honest, kind, and respectful,
Hmm.
and treat everybody well, like as you'd like to be treated. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that rooted in faith, like those principles?
For sure, if it,
Beautiful.
yeah, yeah. After
I was curious, the painting behind you, behind your head right now, is that the joy?
no, this is faith.
Faith. Okay. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about those because I saw you had faith, love, and joy, was it right?
Yeah, yeah. This is the last collection I painted.
Tell me a little bit about those. Were those your own initiative? Were those commissioned?
No, it's that personal work.
Hmm.
Like I work as independent artist, independent designer, and then sometimes I have a lot of work to do, a lot of big commissions, and sometimes I have nothing. And then when that time comes with nothing, always how I can thinking uh, how I can think is like I need to keep believing. I need to have my faith that more work will come,
Hmm.
and then of course I need to keep in creating. You know, I can't like cross my arms and okay, let me wait for something. So part of my work is to create personal work, like yeah, I'd like to paint a series like that, I like to paint a wall or something like that, because when I create these works and I publish in my portfolio, um somehow this maybe some art creators can find, and maybe company can find, and oh, Jackson, we love that wall you paint, we love that canvas you paint, can you create some for our campaign, something. So it's very important for me, I always create personal work, because personal work help to bring commissional work, no? And part as being a calligrapher is you always need to think about what you would like to write on that piece, because you're not, like okay, what next? What else can I write on the paper to create this piece? So in the past, I already paint pieces, for example, with some quotes for Martin Luther King, from uh, Gandhi, and all the kind of always um, positive quotes, something to talking about good, no? And then yeah, so all the time, oh no, why did you release another piece and another piece and that kind of thing. So for the last series, I was thinking about, oh, how important for me is, I always, for example, right now I'm wearing this t-shirt. It's right here in believe, and then I start thinking about words that was part of my values, and then something that I really believe and like show for the world. Uh, like okay, and I started okay, what would be these main words I can paint in a series? And then I started thinking this word like okay, faith is part of my life. Like I always talking about it with my wife, and how important it is to never miss the faith. Like, always have faith. So okay, faith is one, and then another one, and hope. We need always have hope, and love is very important. Love is the basis of our house, to love each other, to show the love, to share the love.
Mhm,
And yeah, so that's the way I think okay, maybe I need to paint this, because when I paint this piece and I show to the world, I'm sharing a little bit about myself. Like this is Jackson. I have
mhm,
faith, I
mhm,
have joy, I have hope and love. So that's the way that I think about this word. So the idea is to increase the collection and add more words, and thinking about it, what is I need to add. For example, I'd like to paint believe. I did paint believe yet in the canvas. So yeah,
Did you
did I
design that
answer your
T-shirt?
question?
Is that T-shirt your design?
Yeah, t-shirt. Yeah,
Yeah?
can
That's
you
that
see?
yeah, you designed that?
Yeah, I
It's
designed that.
it's beautiful. So is that
Thank you.
available on your website?
Not yet, not yet. It's it's hard to put a shirt in the store, because I need to find some place in some company that I trust and that don't charge so much,
Yeah,
and then to be able to put that as print on demand, because to have, because it's hard to print the shirts, like I don't know, see people would like small, large, X large, and then it's hard to keep this how many to have it in the house. So it's better to have let's print on demand. But I didn't find a partner, great partner yet with a good price. I have a great I have a company that print this one, for example, but it's kind of expensive for me to print there and put in my store, and it take a lot of time, and it's kind of expensive. So that's why I don't have in my store yet.
okay.
But I hope I can offer them soon.
I suspect that shirt would be very popular.
Yeah, I think so.
Your
Some people are already asked me about that. Yeah,
well, your work is so beautiful. Now the canvases behind you, the faith, love, and joy, those are available as prints. I think I saw those somewhere, yeah?
yeah. Actually, the original are available in my shop also. Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah. But the original, it's a big canvas, and but I also put like postcards, print
Ah,
postcard of this same collection. Yeah,
okay,
to have
okay.
this, because I understand the original is kind of expensive for regular person to purchase to buy. But so decided to put it as, how can I say that? Yeah, it's not expensive one. You can buy a postcard, you can buy sticker, and I have it in my shop too.
Excellent. Well, we'll make sure we put links in the show notes for this.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Jackson, I really appreciate the work you do, and it's just so lovely. I think there's really a special quality to it in that just the care, the craftsmanship, the color, as you mentioned, color theory, which you were taught in school and express and do so beautifully. Just curious if there's anyone out there listening or watching, maybe a little kid who has a fascination with this stuff, right? And is just sort of admiring what you're able to do professionally. What advice would you have to them? Say, like a young person.
Um, yeah, I think one of the most important thing I believe for every beginner artist is to believe in yourself, because we have a lot of people. Depend of the people, like if you are lucky enough to be born in a great family that supports you, like encourage you all the time, as I had, because my parents, as I said, my parents was a humble family, and we don't have a lot of money, but we have the most important thing. We have love, and then I had parents that all the time encouraged me to keep in doing what I believed and have to do. Like they understand I like to design, I like to draw, and they support me to, "Oh, okay, let's try to find." My father one of the people that helped me to figure out this work as drafted them, and so I all the time had the support from him. Um, yeah, I think it's very important to say, because if someone here now is a parent, understand that how important it is to support your kid, to
Mhm.
encourage our kid, because this self confidence is the most powerful tool for artists. I
Mhm.
have I have some friends very talented, and that opposite of me, they had conditions, like have money in the past to go to college, everything, but didn't have enough support from their parents, and it's so hard to build this self confidence. So
Mm.
that's very important to say. So I know some people maybe don't have this luck to have these good parents. You know that. So if someone is listening now, and if the people beside you is not support you, you need to even then keep believing you. Like if you believe in God, for example, you can pray for God and say, "Help me to support this. How can I improve my work, everything?" But
Mhm.
it's very important to be confident about your work. You need to understand you has a lot to learn yet, but you can learn. Is very different. It's very important to understand. Like, okay, like you can have a great artist at example, as a point to go, as a goal, but you never think that point is impossible to reach. Like, I think everything is possible. You just need to believe, keeping practicing, keeping doing, and of course, some kind of work takes time to reach, but it's possible. So I think the most important thing is believe in yourself, and then be persistent, keeping doing, repeat again, and then and take it support from the people who really encourage you. It's good if your parents, but if not your parents, maybe your friends, maybe your aunt, your grandparents. I don't know.
Mhm.
These words of encouragement is very important. Sometimes they can form the I don't know, the book you read, but as I said, I don't know the people uh, what the people will believe, but if you believe in God, you can pray for God and say, okay, help me to give me the ability and the knowledge and the best way to read that goal I have.
Let's say there's a parent out there. Now, obviously, you just said, um, encourage your children, but specifically, what does that encouragement look like? Does it look like anything the kid draws at all is great and it's all great and everything's great? Does it look like, do you I don't know, like at some point in someone's development, critique comes in to make the person better. And I know it could be very damaging for parents to critique children as well, especially if they don't know what they're talking about. But I'm just kind of wondering, like, what's the balance to encourage a child properly? You could overwhelm them and go to the store and buy all this stuff and throw it at them. Here's your pile of everything you could possibly imagine using. That doesn't work either. So there's kind
Yeah.
of there's this balance, and I think most parents probably want to encourage their children, but I want to ask you as an artist, like what's the right kind of encouragement? How do you encourage well to a creative child?
Oh, that's a good question. Of course, we don't have all the answers. We try our best to
Hmm.
what we think is better. But um, I used to say that for my students too. For example, I know some teachers, some professors have some technique have to be very critical to the, and then sometimes it's kind of rude, and then sometimes, of course, then they came to the student like, oh, this is terrible.
Mhm.
Oh, that's awful. And then they believe the people will use that as fuel to improve. Some people use. I could use that, but some people can't. Some people just that's is enough to give
Stop
up,
it.
you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then I always and of course you can do of course all the time just say good words. You see a terrible work and see, oh, this is so beautiful. It's also doesn't help, you know.
Yeah.
So what I try to do with my student and all the time try to find something good in that piece. For example,
Mhm. Mhm.
okay, the student came to me with this new piece and said, okay, oh, I can see this letter A inside there is so beautiful. You have like a whole text, you know, and say, oh, you made a beautiful letter A inside there. Oh, look that B also. So first you give some good words, you give
Mhm.
some
Encouragement.
trust, some
Yeah.
belief,
Mhm.
and then after that you do some, okay, this is good, but what else you can do to improve this piece? Because it's good, it's not good, okay, but you can improve that. So you can improve this letter, you can improve this composition, you can improve this color. Next time, try to don't use this color as a background because you can read and out this. So first, I gave some good about the piece, and then I talking about what can be improved. So I use with my daughter too, like, oh, this is so good, this is beautiful, and what else if you try this another way, and if you add something, and this, and that I think I believe that some the help to believe in themselves, and then also add some advice to how can improve the piece, and also still talking about parents. Another thing is very important to say. Um, that was very important to me, for example, because I was with my parents and moved to another city. I need to find a way to have a job to pay for all the bills in my house because my parents can help me with this movement. Something my dad and my mother always said to me is something like, "Sam, go go for your dreams, go there. I can help you with money right now, but understand that go there, try harder, and then if everything not work at all, everything go bad, you always come back to your house, to your home.
Mm.
We are be right here waiting
Mhm.
for you if
Mhm.
something not happen well, you know."
Mhm.
So that always helped with, like, I never thought in my life I would live in the street because I understand I have my parents home to come back if
Mhm.
everything goes wrong,
Sure.
you know.
Sure.
And I already see so many people said that, oh, I need to make that work because if it doesn't, I will live on the street. And I said, I will never live in the street. My parents have a small house, but I can't go back there. Nowadays, even nowadays, when I came here to the United States, I thought, okay, if everything go wrong, I know I can pack my stuff and go back to my hometown, and my parents will be there with wide arms, open arms to give me back. You know, so that's something I try to say to my kids, and it's something very simple but very very important to understand. We always have someone in your back to protect you, to give some, at least to give you a hug. You know, when
Mhm.
you need a hug.
Mhm. Yeah.
So some people don't have that. And so people think, oh, the best thing I can do is offer money to my kids or buy a new car or pay the most expensive cars. Is not like that. Is to understand that you always have that support. I tried. I say that to my daughters every single night, man. Every single night when I go to their bed to say good night, I say, if you need anything, anytime, Dad will be here. You know, you can call me anytime. So
Mhm.
it's something I need to to I learn from my parents and try to share with my kids too.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Jackson Alves, what a pleasure to meet with you. I'm glad we could connect and have this interview. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to talk with you and be able to talk all these topics. It's so great. I think it's so important.